Have you ever wondered how thin the line is between a peaceful shelter and death's door? Welcome to a trip where we'll discover the 25 most dangerous houses in the world. They aren't just built with bricks and stones, but with extreme boldness. We'll check out roofs clinging precariously to ancient volcanic ridges, towns living like parasites on vibrating overpasses, or space capsules sticking out over 1,000-meter deep abysses. This isn't just architecture, it's a battle between human willpower and the most unforgiving laws of physics. Are you ready to hold your breath and feel the vertigo under your feet? Buckle up, because we're starting this trip to places where safety is a non-existent luxury. Rifugio, Nuvolau, Italy. Would you dare to sleep in a stone house on the jagged peak of Mount Nuvolau, where one wrong step would toss you into a 1,000-meter abyss? Sitting at 2,575 meters, this is the oldest shelter in the Dolomites, with a history dating back to 1883. The danger is real on every steep trail leading to the top, where endless gusts of wind are ready to knock over a careless hiker. Once used as a strategic lookout during World War I, the building clings to a narrow limestone slab like a bird's nest, braving the extreme high mountain weather. The 360-degree view from the top takes in the vertical cliffs of the majestic Marmolada Massif, giving you a sense of absolute vertigo. A stormy night here is a true mental test, with the wind bashing against the rocks to create a threatening symphony. Climb up to this nest to see how human willpower holds strong up in the sky. Queimada, Grande Island, Brazil. Never make the mistake of seeking shelter here, because every square meter of rock is ruled by cold-blooded predators ready to wipe out any living thing that crosses their path. This terrifying spot is the lighthouse on Queimada Grande Island, known as Snake Island. The extreme danger doesn't come from the steep terrain, but from the golden lancehead viper, whose venom is so potent it can melt human tissue in seconds. The story goes that the family of the last lighthouse keeper met a gruesome fate, dying when snakes slithered in through the windows to hunt them in the middle of the night. Since then, the house has been abandoned, and the lighthouse runs automatically to prevent more tragedies. Right now, the Brazilian government strictly bans civilians from going there. It's the harshest answer for anyone looking for a place where humans definitely don't belong. Bivacco Buffa di Perrero, Italy. What if your bedroom was suspended on a vertical cliff at an altitude of 2,760 meters? Where a single, careless step would be enough to turn your dreams into a tragedy. This crazy location is the Bivacco Buffa di Perrero, a tiny wooden cabin embedded in the rock of Mount Cristallo. The extreme danger lies in its unique spot on a completely vertical limestone wall, where there's barely enough room for a few people, and you're totally isolated in the clouds. This structure was actually a World War I shelter, amazingly built by Italian soldiers to spy on the enemy in freezing conditions. Today, it still stands as a testament to the limits of human survival against nature's cruelty. Conquering the Bivacco is the most realistic way to understand what it feels like to sleep next to death in the middle of the Dolomites. Jindeng Temple Grottoes, China. Imagine walking on a stone ribbon suspended in mid-air, where a second of distraction is enough to turn your trip into a plunge down a 1,000-meter abyss. This is the dramatic reality at the Jindeng Temple, carved straight into the cliffs of the Taihang Mountains at a daring altitude of 1,000 meters. The suffocating danger lies in its absurdly narrow stone walkways, which have absolutely no guardrails, making every breath heavy for visitors facing the pressure of infinite space. With over 15 centuries of history, the temple isn't just a spiritual spot, but an architectural masterpiece that defies the laws of gravity. Ancient monks chose this remote location to meditate in isolation, hand-carving thousands of stunning Buddha statues into the cliffs to show their unshakable perseverance. If you're looking for a real thrill, this is a place you have to visit at least once in your life. Paro Taktsang, Bhutan. Hanging from a 900-meter cliff, the White Temple fades in and out of the fog, hiding a deadly abyss right at the traveler's feet. This is the Tiger's Nest Monastery, a proud spiritual symbol of Bhutan, but also a nightmare for anyone afraid of heights. The most dizzying part is the network of narrow stairs glued to the vertical wall, where you have to inch along the edge of the rock with no modern safety barriers. A moment of carelessness is enough to face death. Legend has it that Guru Rinpoche flew to this cave on the back of a tigress to meditate in the 8th century, laying the foundation for a structure that breaks all the rules of construction. Despite a massive fire in 1998, The monastery was restored to its original state, using basic methods in the middle of incredibly tough terrain. Beating your fear of heights at the tiger's nest is the only way to find true peace between the clouds and the abyss. Uros Floating Islands, Peru. Imagine living on a giant grass sponge, where the ground beneath your feet rots day by day and sinks with every step you take. This shaky reality is everyday life on the Uros Floating Islands on Lake Titicaca at an altitude of 3,810 meters. Because the ground is made entirely of woven totora reeds, the locals face a never-ending fight for survival. They have to constantly add fresh layers of reeds every week to make up for the bottom layer that the lake water rots and eats away. Once used as mobile fortresses to escape the Inca Empire, these islands turn life into a journey of constant drifting. The risk of fire and choppy waves are always lurking, threatening to burn or sink everything in a flash. Walk on these reed clouds to see how humanity amazingly clings to the most fragile materials on the planet. Hanging Temple, Huan, China. How is it possible that wooden beams as thin as chopsticks can hold up a giant temple glued to a vertical cliff for over 1,500 years? The answer is at the Hanging Temple on Mount Heng. Where the danger takes the shape of narrow, suffocating wooden walkways 50 meters above the ground. Just one creak under your feet is enough to make the bravest person shake while looking at the abyss right next to them. The crazy part is, that the temple is still standing thanks to a clever mix of wooden beams wedged deep into the rock and hidden support pillars, defying all modern engineering knowledge. This is the only place in the world that combines Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism under one sketchy roof. Touching those ancient wooden pillars is the most direct way to understand the timeless wisdom of our ancestors in their game with gravity. Rifugio Gervasutti, Italy. Don't look down if you're inside this capsule, because almost half of the structure is already hanging over the edge of the abyss, dangling dangerously in the Mont Blanc Massif. Located at an altitude of 2,835 meters. Rifugio Gervasutti is a futuristic spaceship that defies the laws of physics with its tube-like design sticking out into the endless void. You can feel the tension in every breath, since the floor you're standing on is actually a block of metal precariously hanging off a rock wall. To get to this shelter, you have to cross steep glaciers and dangerous walls. Instead of bricks, the structure uses aerospace materials to handle alpine snowstorms, making every night you stay there an adrenaline-packed mental battle against the fierce wind. Try sleeping at the Gervasutti to see just how arrogant modern architecture can be by perching right on the edge of death. Vardzia, Georgia. What secrets does a giant stone city hide with thousands of rooms carved into the mountain, where every dark hallway leads straight to the edge of a towering abyss? This is Vardzia, a limestone maze deep in the Eresheti Mountains. Even though it has guardrails and safer trails today, the suffocating danger still lives in its tight tunnels and jagged rock balconies at heights that would make anyone dizzy. Built during the reign of Queen Tamar in the 12th century, it was an unbeatable fortress that protected 50,000 people from invaders. The irrigation system and the detailed church inside the rock remain as proof of the ancient people's technical mastery. Exploring Vardzia is a chance to touch the heroic history of the Caucasus on dizzying cliffs. Inle Lake Stilt Village, Myanmar. Imagine if every step you took made the whole house vibrate to the rhythm of the waves, where your family's safety depends entirely on thin bamboo stilts stuck in the muddy bottom of the lake. Life in the floating villages of Lake Inle shatters any idea of a solid foundation. The hidden danger comes from seasonal floods and the risk of cyclones that could wipe out the whole village if the support stilts rot from being underwater too long. The Intha people have lived here for generations with their floating farm techniques and a unique one-legged rowing style. The strange connection between man and water creates a peaceful beauty, but one that's full of natural challenges. Diving into the floating world of Inle is the only way to appreciate the resilience of a community that has turned the surface of the lake into a solid home. Shiniuzhai Cliff Store, China. While your hands cling to a vertical wall 120 meters up, a tiny supply station absurdly appears right on the edge of a seemingly bottomless abyss. The title of the most inconvenient convenience store on the planet in Shiniuzhai, Hunan, is the most accurate description for this unique spot. The drama is that you can only get to this place by rock climbing with safety ropes, where one tiny mistake would leave you facing death right under your feet. The store is barely 2 square meters and hangs out in the middle of nowhere. The worker has to climb the mountain every day to get to work and uses a manual pulley system to haul up drinking water from the bottom. Despite looking fragile in the wind, it's a global phenomenon for pushing the limits of retail. If you want to drink water in the most exclusive spot on the planet, get your nerves of steel ready to make it up here. Blatten, Switzerland. Why would the people in a Swiss village build their houses on top of huge round rocks, making them look like they're defiantly hanging on a slope with a 45-degree incline? When you walk into the ancient village of Blatten, you'll see traditional wooden houses clinging to terrain that seems fit only for mountain goats. The danger stopped being theoretical in May 2025. When a catastrophic glacier collapse swept through the valley, destroying pine wood structures that had stood for centuries. This disaster is a wake-up call about how fragile this fairy tale village is against nature's unpredictable fury caused by climate change. Beating the hills of Blatten today isn't just tourism. It's experiencing the line between endurance and life-threatening risk. Visit Blatten to see the soul of the Alps before this wonder could disappear forever under dirt and rocks. Civita di Bagnoregio, Italy. How would you feel if every morning you woke up and saw that the abyss had moved a few inches closer to your window? In Civita di Bagnoregio, the nickname "the Dying City" isn't an exaggeration, but a harsh reality. The tough rock under the houses constantly crumbles into the valley after every rain. The danger hits you right from the entrance as you cross the only bridge, which is long and steep, where gusts of wind threaten to break any traveler's willpower. This 2,500-year-old town was once a booming Etruscan city. But geological erosion has turned it into a shaky island that nature is slowly eating away. Today, only a few residents are left among the beautiful stone houses that are at risk of disappearing. Conquering Civita is a race against time to see a heritage site that's fading into the depths of the abyss. Liechtenstein Castle, Germany. Don't let its storybook beauty fool you, because this piece of architecture is actually clinging to a sharp rock point hanging in mid-air. That breathless feeling is your welcome to Liechtenstein Castle in the Swabian Alps, a place known as the fairy tale castle, but with a crazy, dangerous location. The massive castle sits precariously on a rocky ledge with zero safety room around its foundation. Built in the 19th century, inspired by a romantic novel, it's actually an amazing reconstruction job over an old fortress that was destroyed because of the treacherous terrain. It's proof of the desire to bring the wildest dreams to life right on the edge of the abyss. Check out Liechtenstein to see that the line between reality and fantasy is as thin as a vertical cliff. Meteora Monasteries, Greece. Trusting your life to a swinging hemp net over a 400-meter abyss used to be the only way to reach these isolated peaks. That risky entrance paved the way for Meteora, where ancient monasteries cling to vertical sandstone pillars. Even now that there are steps carved into the rock, the fear of heights kicks in on the narrow balconies with no guardrails, where strong winds hit visitors, reminding them how fragile life is. Since the 14th century, monks picked these peaks as a hideout, creating a city in the clouds that was unbeatable against human attacks. This World Heritage Site is solid proof of how faith can help humans conquer the most unimaginable terrains. Conquering Meteora is a test of nerves to touch the sky on the edge of the abyss. Castellfollit de la Roca, Spain. Have you ever wondered how long humans can hold on at an edge so sketchy that it feels like a strong wind could blow everything into the valley? This stressful reality is life for the people of Castellfollit de la Roca, where an entire 1 kilometer-long town sits on a narrow strip of basalt rock. The danger isn't just the dizzying height, but the roar of the two rivers below, quietly wearing away the foundation after every flood season. The giant cliff is the result of ancient volcanic eruptions, creating a one-of-a-kind geography in Catalonia. The locals have learned to live with the erosion and sheer drops for hundreds of years, acting as a living example of human willpower to conquer the land. Stand on the back of this volcano to feel the geological instability and understand how huge nature really is. Khandavan, Iran. What makes hundreds of people keep living in steep volcanic caves, where the only way in is via slippery rock walls with no handrails? The strange appeal of the stone anthills of Khandavan is why over 600 people have put up with this risky life for more than 700 years. The drama is right there in the network of narrow, steep paths connecting the upper cave levels, where one little slip means a free fall. Formed in the 13th century as a hideout from brutal Mongol attacks, these houses were carved right into the volcanic rock instead of using bricks. Despite their prehistoric look, thanks to the stone's thermal properties, the inside stays warm during brutal winters. Explore Khandavan to witness the survival instinct and the digging skills of ancient people on dizzying cliffs. Korowai tree houses, Indonesia. Would you bet your life on a skinny tree trunk to reach a home 50 meters up in an ancient tree? This isn't an action movie, but the real-life survival of the Korowai tribe in the Papua jungle, where houses are built out of bamboo, rattan, and bark right in the treetops. The danger hits its peak when you're standing on a floor that shakes with every gust of wind, where losing your balance means falling straight down into the thick jungle. This wooden skyscraper architecture was created to dodge wild animals, enemies, and evil spirits according to their beliefs. Even though they look flimsy, they're proof of supreme craftsmanship and incredible bravery. Spending a night here is the ultimate test to face the most primal fear of heights. Fanjingshan, China. How can two little temples stay standing on sharp rock peaks separated by a deep abyss? This challenging question is your invite to Fanjingshan, where the 2,336-meter golden summit looks like it was chopped in half by nature's giant axe. The danger isn't just on the narrow bridge linking the two peaks, where the wind makes your legs shake, but also in the climb of over 8,000 steep steps leading straight into the clouds. With history tracing back to the Ming dynasty, it's a Buddhist sanctuary with architecture that totally defied the gravity of its time. More than a pilgrimage, it's a mental battle to see the soul of the Guizhou Mountains hanging in the sky. Overcome your fear, to stand on the bridge of the gods and feel human greatness right in the face of creation. Al-Hajar, Yemen. It's hard to believe that the most fragile desert materials have built such solid fortresses on the edge of 1,000-meter drop-offs for centuries. This crazy paradox is the soul of Al-Hajar, where housing towers cling to limestone ledges. The drama lies in the structure made of dried mud bricks and stone, perched so precariously that a little earthquake would threaten their narrow foundations. Residents deal with the desert wind and vertical drops with no safety barriers every single day, turning every daily chore into a challenge. Designed as a medieval hanging fortress, the village let people spot and fight off invaders from miles away. Would you dare to face the abyss in Al-Hajar to see that human willpower is tougher than ancient rock? Saint-Michel de Guy, France. Don't look down if you aren't brave. because the only way to the top of this rock tower is via steps carved into the vertical wall, hanging in the air. This breathtaking trip takes you to the Saint-Michel d'Aiguille Chapel, built on top of an 82-meter volcanic needle. The danger kicks off from the very first step on the 268 steep stairs wrapping around the rock, where the wind and slippery ground are ready to break anyone who is faint of heart. Built back in the year 951 to honor the gods, it created the perfect prayer spot right between Earth and the sky. Every square meter at the top is used to the max, making it a spiritual lookout over the Le Puy-en-Velay region. Climbing this needle is a journey to understand where faith meets humanity's drive to push the limits. Katski Pillar, Georgia. Can you imagine the life of a solo monk on top of a 40-meter limestone pillar, where his only connection to the world is a rusty iron ladder stuck to the vertical wall? Over in the Imereti region, the Katski Pillar is a test of courage, where loneliness and danger surround the tiny summit. Every stretch of the climb is a mental battle, with winds that could knock anyone down and where 1 minute of carelessness is deadly. This spot has been used since the 4th century as a hideaway to find absolute silence, far from everyday chaos. The tiny monastery at the top stands as a symbol of strength against the harsh terrain. Look up at Katski to witness a miracle of faith that pushes all the boundaries of survival. Meishan Wine Town, Chongqing. A brightly colored town clinging to the sides of a bridge like bird nests, with the valley abyss lurking right under the floors of the houses. At Meixin Wine Town, rows of Western-style houses pop up right on top of the overpasses winding through the mountainous city of Chongqing. The drama hits you with every step through the narrow walkways, where homes have to deal with dizzying heights and the constant shaking from daily traffic. It's the peak of crazy creativity to adapt to overcrowded land, turning transportation infrastructure into vibrant living spaces. Conquering this town is seeing a Chongqing that plays by zero architectural rules. Visit Meixin Wine Town to see how humans have turned suspension bridges into the most colorful survival wonders on the planet. Huangxian Valley, China. Would you believe in a fantasy town where wooden houses are nailed straight into vertical cliffs over a roaring waterfall? Tucked away in the Huangxian Valley, you feel the danger walking along skinny wooden paths and glass bridges, linking the houses, dangling over 1,000-meter drops. Even though they're built with modern tech, the sound of the raging waterfall and the non-stop wind make everyone hold their breath because of the extreme feeling of instability. Inspired by ancient culture, this surreal space challenges the senses and the courage of anyone wanting to live like an immortal being. Every house glued to the mountain creates a majestic sight, but it's totally risky if you look away for even a second. Sleeping in Huangxian is a test of guts to live out a heavenly dream right on the edge of the abyss. Uplistsiki, Georgia. How could Iron Age humans carve an entire fortress city into the heart of the rock, overlooking the rushing Mitkavari River? That question takes you to Uplisike, an architectural complex molded into sandstone blocks, making up a dramatic cave maze. The danger is in the system of steep, slippery paths and dark tunnels worn down over thousands of years, with no modern handrails for visitors. It was a major religious and political hub before being destroyed in the 13th century. But this stone city still stands as a fortress that defies time. Every step here is a balancing act between the massive space of the valley and the ancient ruins on the cliff. While standing in this maze, you'll realize that no cliff is too dangerous when humans decide to turn it into a forever fortress. "25 places, 25 survival feats that have definitely changed your definition of what a home is." From Georgia and Italy to Chongqing or Peru, we see that whether it's on the edge of an abyss or on a rotting lake, humans always find a way to hold on and shine. These buildings don't just challenge our bravery, but they're proof of our species' limitless creativity against the harshness of Mother Nature. Which of these locations blew your mind the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments so we can talk about it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next unimaginable wonders.